Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? Well, my allergies are on full blast. My nose has been running all day. And my eyes are super itchy and watery. It's so strange, isn't it? How like some days are worse than others. So I have to go to Meijer because I need to get some Post-it notes of different sizes. And I'm going to go down in one direction and come back the other way to Meijer. And that's going to be my vlog tonight. So I don't know how long this will be. But it'll be, I'm going to go down towards Zionsville, which is like a little small town here. And then I'm going to come back. We'll just see. We'll just see where it takes us. We may take some little off loops and little side roads, and who knows where our adventure will take us this evening. I've been watching these episodes of Moonlighting. I love that show so much from back in the day. And I can't remember what episode it is, but I know it's in the first season, I think. And this guy runs this late night talk show, radio show. I think it's called like Midnight Caller or something, but I'm watching them in order, so I'm not there yet. And the on-screen interactions between David and Maddie, Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd, is like so fantastic. Like they were such a great team in a television show. I forgot how much I love them together. But anyway, I don't know how I remember this episode, but it was about this guy, and he had like a late night talk show, I think, where people like call in and stuff. And I think he ends up like getting killed, and so they have to like solve the mystery or whatever. I've always kind of been drawn to shows or attracted to shows that have something to do with like radio shows, which I think is so funny that all these years ago that I was interested in kind of like a podcast kind of thing, you know, which back then we didn't have podcasts, but thank you if you just said bless you. I just like threw on this shirt that I had on my couch tonight that I've been wearing. Did you ever see the movie The Fog? Like the original movie, The Fog. I think the second one is horrible, but the first one was so good. The original one with, I can't think of what that woman's name is. She was really good in it. And she played the radio show, talk show host when The Fog is coming in. I got a Diet Pepsi earlier. And I also have my water right here. What did I do today? Let's see. Well, I got up and I had my training today. And she busted my butt. She told me she was really proud of how hard I worked out today. And so when I go in, she has me like, we stretch. And so she had me do lunges. And then she has me do these caterpillar things, which I absolutely hate. And then I do like, you know, arm rotations like this. And then she had me do, she always has me like do like so much more weight than I think that I can handle. Cause I'm always like, she'll be like, okay, get this, you know, a barbell or this dumbbell. And she's like, you can handle it. I'm like, I really can't. She's like, yeah, you can do it. And, so she had me do something with the dumbbell. I can't remember, whatever, barbell, whatever it's called. Oh, she had me do squats holding it, but like it was really heavy. And I can feel it in my legs tonight. Like I can feel it in my thighs and my calves. And then she had me, she has me do this thing where it's like it looks like, like a duffel bag, but it's made out of like this plasticky rubber, like this really thick rubber, and it's actually a weight itself. And so you carry it like dead weight. And she has me like toss it up, and then like I have to like, so I had to do squats with that. It was all like squat based today. And then she had me do these like rubber band things, but I had to like pull them down like this. It's like my shoulder square, and she kept on like correcting my form and stuff. I was joking with her because I was like, form doesn't matter. And she's like, form matters. Form is very important. And I was like, no, I don't think form is that important. She was laughing. So anyway, and then I left there and I went and got a coffee. That's right here. Like a little bit left, I think. And from there, I went home and I filmed videos on all of my channels and got those up. No, from there I went home and I like took a shower, and then I filmed my videos, and then I had errands to run, and I was like an hour into getting my errands done, and Alex came home. I stopped by Macy's to look around for a little bit, but they didn't have anything that I wanted. And, or I should say the things I wanted were way too expensive. They had like a Lacoste shirt that I wanted. It was interesting how many of these stores that I went to today had all this stuff for Pride Day or Pride Month. Like, I don't remember that in the past. Like, Lacoste has this like whole Keith Haring like dedicated Pride shirts. That wasn't the one that I wanted. The one that I wanted was like this orange polo shirt, and it had like this orange thing. It was really cute. But I thought, like, realistically, like, how often am I going to wear this thing? And it was like $98. I was like, that is a lot of money for a polo shirt. So I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to be getting that. But I really wanted it. It was really cute. I didn't even try it on because I knew if I tried it on, I'd have to have it. And then, what else did I do? I left there. Oh, I went to the mall. I went to Sephora. Because I needed, do you guys hear how bad my allergies are? I am so sorry, but like, I just can't help it. It's been like that all day today, and I even took my allergy medicine earlier. I needed more Chanel Blue. So I went and I got Chanel Blue, but I got the perfume. I was trying to explain this to Alex, and Alex is like, you got the perfume. And I was like, well, it's just stronger. And so it lasts longer, and I don't have to spray as much. And so I got the perfume spray instead of the eau de toilette. And I got that, and then I got this. I can't remember what the brand name is. I should have showed it in my vlog tonight, but it's a water... I am, like, obsessed with hydrating face masks that you leave on overnight. And so it's a water one. Like a water-based... watermelon hydrating face mask. It smells so fantastic. And I was talking to the girl that worked there, and I was like, do you have any of these left? And she was like, I don't think we do. She was like, we might have one over here on display. And she like walked like 2 feet. She's like, we have one left. And I was like, oh my God. It was like brand new, still in the box. I was like, thank God. So I got that. The thing is like at Sephora, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you out there shop at Sephora and Ulta. Like each of those products is so expensive. Like it was like $45. But the Belief hydrating face mask that I got, it was like similar in price. And I've been using it for like 6 months, and I still have a lot left. So they last, and I use it like regularly. So it like, they last a long time, and they really work too. I mean, when if I'm consistently using them every night before I go to bed, I can tell a huge difference compared to when I'm not using it. Like really, I really honestly can. I wanted to get a face wash, a men's face wash today. But I didn't want to get it at Sephora. I wanted to go like to Kiehl's and see if they had one that wasn't like, the one that I got before was from like normal to oily skin. And I felt like it almost kind of made my skin kind of a little oily, so I wanted to get one that was just for like normal skin, and I really like the Kiehl's face washes. So I didn't get that. But then I got a Laneige lip balm that it's like really nice, and it has a little bit of like gloss in it, but not too much. And I got pear scent because I wanted to try something a little bit different. So I got that, and then let's see. Oh, and then I got like a birthday gift because it's my birthday month. So I got to pick what I wanted, and I got this. The brand is called Drunk Monkey. And it's like this gel face wash. She's telling me how she uses it. She uses it in the shower to like take her makeup off. So it's like a gel face wash. And then there's like a cream that you put on afterwards. So I'm excited about using that. I'm gonna try that tomorrow. And she goes, and the name is fun. I love people like that. So I left there, and then I had to go to Target, and I ran to Target and did a bunch of stuff. And I've actually already been to Meijer once today, and I had to get lotion, Aveeno lotion. So I went to Target and got Aveeno lotion, and totally forgot that I had to get Post-it notes, even though I walked through the business section. I even got pens and a notepad, and like I looked right at the Post-it notes, knowing that I had to get Post-it notes, and I looked right at them, and I looked right at them. Oh my god, the battery's about to die, and thank god I have another battery with me. But I looked right at, where am I at on time, so I remember. I looked right at the Post-it notes, and I was like, knowing I had Post-it notes to get, and I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't look at those because I'll end up buying a bunch that I don't need. And then I got home and I was looking at my Post-it notes, and I was like, I need more Post-it notes. It didn't even occur to me. I knew it when I was sitting there. There was something else from my bathroom that I needed that I don't remember what it was too, so I'm sure I'll remember that later, like when I'm getting ready for bed tonight. Although I've already gone to bed once, because when I got home, Alex was laying in bed watching Riverdale, so I got in bed and he had it on the TV up. He's been watching Netflix on our TV upstairs now, because we have like one of those Roku things on our TV. So do y'all have the Roku? Do you know what I'm talking about? Well, I mean, whatever. It's built into like our Blu-ray player or whatever below, because we can't get cable on that TV. They can't run a cable line through our house to get up to the second floor. It doesn't matter. So anyway, so he's been watching Netflix on our TV up there, which is great because we don't ever use that TV for anything. And we used to watch a lot of movies up there late at night. And so he was watching Riverdale. And so I got him to bed with him and the dogs. I was kind of talking to him for a little bit, but then I could tell that he really wanted to watch a show. I'm going to pull in here and I'm going to stop this and change the battery. I'll be right back. Okay, so I actually did not put the battery. I grabbed it and didn't put it in my bag. So I'm going to have to run home and get the battery and come back out. Which is great. But if you need some lip plumper, I have it right here. Okay, well, I mean, while I have it, I might as well just put it on. I literally had the battery in my hand. I'm like, I took everything out of this fanny pack and it's not in here. I had the battery in my hand. I cannot believe this. Oh, well, okay, listen, you guys. Well, I'm gonna run home and grab the battery, and then I will be back. So yeah, that's what happens when you wake up and you dash out the door. Okay, I'll be back in just a second. Okay, I'm back. I went inside and the battery was just like sitting in the charger, so apparently I didn't take it out.
The sixth wave she spoke of meshed with our developing theory.
Listening to Killer Clown about John Wayne Gacy. You guys, this book is so spooky. Probably, like, I thought I'll Be Gone in the Dark was good. And I remember reading it and I was so scared and kind of creeped out. But I honestly think this John Wayne Gacy book is like so much scarier. I really, really do. I don't even remember what I was talking about before. So, but anyway, the John Wayne Gacy book, it's called Killer Clown, and I'm 3 hours and 16 minutes into it right now. And so it starts off, well, it's in 1978, and it doesn't feel dated at all. Like, it really, really doesn't when you're reading it. It feels like it just happened. And first of all, I don't really know a whole lot about John Wayne Gacy, so I think that helps. I mean, I know that he was like a clown and stuff, but this book doesn't talk a whole lot about it. I was actually talking to Mel about this today. Mel, my book club assistant, now co-book club person. Now she can be the president of the book club. You're the president of the book club now, Mel. But anyway, she and I were talking about it today, and she was explaining, because she finished it all, and she was explaining to me that Terry Sullivan, who is the author of the book, the main author, there's an updated version, and I think I'm listening to the updated version. He was the assistant district attorney for the state of Illinois at the time that the John Gacy case was going on. And she said that he wanted to show the police investigation. So it doesn't go into a lot of details about Gacy himself, but it's really more about the police investigation, which is fine with me because it's a completely different point of view, and it's very, very interesting. We had these storms the other day, and I was with Tanya when they happened, and I didn't really realize it rained that hard. And this one, I don't know if it's still here or not. They must have had it moved. Oh no, there it is, right there. These people, they're like, it's straight. The tree goes right across their driveway. Like, it's ginormous, this tree. It's like uprooted. I don't even know how it happened. So anyway, but so what the John Gacy book, Killer Clown, starts, and it's about this kid that goes missing. And like his parents and siblings, brother and sister, are trying to find him, and they don't know where he's at. And supposedly John Gacy was like the last person that saw him, but he doesn't admit to even like really seeing him. And so it reads very much like a thriller, but it's real life, so you know, like it's sad. And again, I feel very it's very honorable towards the victim and the victim's family. But so it's really about like them trying to finally like arrest John Gacy, but they have like all this mounting evidence. And the thing that's really scary about it is that they like, I mean, I already know in reading the book that the kid they're looking for is probably dead, although I'm 3 hours and 16 minutes into it and they still haven't found anything out about him. And the parents knew, like, within 2 or 3 hours, like, that they speculated that he was with John Gacy. And if the police had acted on it then, like, the kid might not have died, is I think what's going to be kind of found out about it. But I think the laws have changed a lot. But in 1978, there was really not a whole lot that they could do, you know? Even though they had, like, all this evidence and stuff, there was, like, really, like, John Gacy was more protected than the victim was. And it's really kind of scary. And so it's about, like, days on end of them. This one part they go into, it's December 17th. So it happens, like, the week of December 17th. It starts on, like, the 11th or 12th of December. I think the 12th. And that's my sobriety day, which I thought was, I was like, that's weird, that's my sobriety day. But anyway, it goes in with these police, like, following him all over town. He basically saw it as a game, and so he, like, they couldn't pull him over and arrest him for reckless driving. So, like, they were told not to do that. So he's, like, going, like, 85, 100, like, through the streets of Chicago. And, he's real braggadocio, talking about all these people that he knows. And then they bring in, like, all these different people that work for him, his ex-wife, and they're, like, interviewing him. And they have all of this information that, like, leads to, like, point towards him. And he still, like, holds to the fact that, like, he didn't do anything. And so you're like a week and a half into this investigation, and they're still no closer than they were at the beginning. And, but it's scary to read, like, especially like late at night. I don't know why, but it just is. And, I mean, I'm like 3 hours into it, 3 hours and 16 minutes, like I said, and they've done like, we got a warrant and searched the house, and it's so well written that, like, they'll bring up a detail, and you know the detail is going to come out later. Like, one of the very first things they're talking about is this girl that the missing guy works with, and they start off with her, like, coming into work, and that she had just picked up, like, these photographs, or she had just gone to take a roll of photographs in somewhere, and she had the ticket in the pocket of her coat. Well, she loans her coat to the kid, and so the kid has her coat on when he goes outside to, like, do something in the snow. And they find the ticket at John Gacy's house, but they don't connect it because they have no idea where they find it in the trash. They have no idea where this ticket came from. Well, you know later they're going to trace this ticket, right? Like, you know it's going to play out. It's like, I remember when I was taking a creative writing class way back in the, I trimmed my beard today, so of course my beard is driving me crazy. But I remember, like, so, you know, my undergraduate degree was in English, but I focused on creative writing. And I remember I had this professor one time that said to me, like, if you put a smoking gun in the first, like, paragraph of your story, or in a, like, maybe it was in a I took a screenwriting class, maybe it was my screenwriting class, but he said, like, you know, if you put a smoking gun in the first scene, that smoking gun better, like, have some significance, you know, or symbology in the book. Like, it better play a part, because you don't do that to your audience, just have, like, a smoking gun for no reason. So it's interesting because there's, like, a lot of smoking guns throughout the book, and you know they're all pointing in that direction. Plus, if you know anything about John Gacy, he was hiding the bodies underneath his house in this crawl space with lime. Now, I do know that. And so they go down there and they can't see anything. They don't see any bodies or anything, so I don't know how they're going to find out about all that, because I don't know those kind of details, but it's interesting to read. Even if you're not if you want to be in Peter's book club, we're reading it through the month of June, so read it and then come join the live stream. But it is really, really good. I mean, it's what I really wanted to read. When I imagined doing a year of true crime, like, this is what I imagined reading, you know? So I'm glad that we picked this book. We've got some really good books. Actually, I was talking to Mel today, because we've got tomorrow's the 11th. We have to announce by the 15th what the book for July is going to be. We're reading about Son of Sam. So basically, we'll probably pick the book that's the most easily accessible and probably the most famous book on Son of Sam. I saw the movie years ago. I think it was with John Leguizamo, however you pronounce his name. And I remember it being really, really good and kind of scary. And it was about the blackouts in New York City. My ear is clogged. You know, it's interesting that we don't hear a lot about a lot of modern day serial killers. And when we were reading I'll Be Gone in the Dark for the book club, that book is so good if you haven't read it. I mean, so good. And even he stopped killing in, like, 1986, I think. I know Herb Baumeister here in Indianapolis, he was through, like, 1996. But I think the last person that the Golden State Killer, who had, like, 4 names, he was also known as the Visalia Ransacker. Anyway, he had, like, 4 or 5 different names. Did you know, like, one of the things I learned from that book is that, okay, so, like, when we give a serial killer a name, it's usually done by somebody in the media, but a lot of times police investigators help with that, because when we come up with a name like the Hillside Strangler, or the Night Stalker, or the Son of Sam, you know, or Killer Clown, but Killer Clown kind of came afterwards. But anyway, when we come up with those names, it, like, brings a lot of media attention to it, and then it's like people will get more interested in it, and you get more tips and stuff that way. There's, like, this whole idea around why we give, like, it's like investigative tactic that they use, actually. I learned that in How to Get Away with Murder. I learned that in, I just heard in his part, he's talking about being a clown, and he was like, clowns can do whatever they want. He looks right at this investigator when they're out to eat. So all these investigators, like, follow him, and so then he buys them, like, dinner and drinks, like, all over Chicago. It's real arrogant. And he looks at this one guy, and he goes, well, the other one is in the bathroom, and he says, clowns can get away with murder. Can't. It's too much for me. But anyway, you know what's so strange is that, you know, it's 2019 and we don't really have any, I mean, I guess the Long Island serial killer has never been caught. But we don't have any current serial killers, like, where we know that they're, like, that we, you know, hear about them being out there and stuff like that. And I'll Be Gone in the Dark, they said that at any given time, I think the number they quoted, if I'm wrong about this, will somebody comment in the comment section below, but I think the number they said was 1,000 active serial killers in North America. Like, that's crazy, isn't it? 1,000 active serial killers in North America that haven't been caught. Could be out there right now, you know? But if you think about it, like, that a lot of them, that was what was so interesting to me about the Long Island serial killer, was that it talked a lot about, like, his going after prostitutes. And I think, like, there's this idea in our society, like, when we talk about serial killers, that one of the reasons that they go after, like, prostitutes, like, especially street prostitutes, like, people that are vagrant or homeless and things like that, is that, like, they have some kind of statement that they're making about typical kind of people. But in reality, it's not really about that, I don't think. I really think it's about that when they're, like, looking to kill somebody, they think these people won't be missed as much as others, and so it's easier for them to get away with it. Like Herb Baumeister here in Indianapolis, a lot of the guys that he took home were gay homeless men, or gay guys that supposedly have been known to be escorts. So the idea that they could have just, like, ran off was not so hard to believe. And I mean, if you, like, look at a stereotype based on that, you know, I know when I was talking to somebody involved with that case, they said that that was specifically why he went after, that they believed, after they had profiled it, that they believed, my ear just unpopped. Oh God, that feeling is so wonderful, isn't it? When you can hear all full again. But that they believed that the reason that he did that was so that he could, go after people that, you know, wouldn't be missing. Now, I will tell you that the Golden State Killer, he did not do that. Like, the Golden State Killer went into people's homes, and he even attacked couples. I think that was what made him so scary, was he literally would wake people up in the middle of the night. Like, he would be standing over their bed. And, so, and I think the other people that we read about, like, Son of Sam, stuff like that, I don't think, and the Night Stalker, I don't think, who's the one that killed the nurses? I want to say that that's the Night Stalker, or the Hillside Strangler. I don't know. Maybe we should read both of those in August. I think we're only doing one. So maybe in September we'll do another one. And then Mel's picking the October book, because it's her birthday month, and she wants to read something about the Mafia, which I'm totally open to. And then November, we have something really exciting to read. And then December, we've already picked our book for December to end the year on. It's been really fun picking these books for a year of true crime. We have an idea for what we're going to do for 2020, for the books that we're going to pick. And I'm really excited about that. We had a couple different things. In the last live stream, everybody was like, please don't do classics. And it was so funny because we had actually talked about doing classics, and like one for each time period, you know, over like 12 different time periods. And she and I were like, oh, we should do, like, you know, you could do like one during like the Renaissance period, one during this, you know, one during that, like, you know, during the Depression. And then we were like, no, I don't know. So we decided against that. I could totally reread I'll Be Gone in the Dark. We need to have another true crime book come out this year that's really, really good. Paul Holes, who is the investigator on that case, is supposed to come out. You know, I don't think that guy has even spoken one word or said anything. That Golden State Killer guy. Isn't that scary? Okay, I'm going to grab my... Oh, it just turned green. I was going to get my lip balm out of there. I was talking to my cousin Caroline about it on David's graduation day, because she had read it too, and she was like, and she had listened to Evil Has a Name. So if you read the books, I'll Be Gone in the Dark is Michelle McNamara's book about the Golden State Killer, and she's actually the one that coined the phrase, or termed him the Golden State Killer, coined the phrase. She's the one that named him the Golden State Killer. Her husband is Patton Oswalt, the actor, and I guess comedian and stuff. But anyway, she passed away during the writing of the book, and so Patton Oswalt finished it based on her notes. But while she did this, she became kind of obsessed with the case. It's actually called One Woman's Obsession with the Golden State Killer. I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsession with the Golden State Killer. And she would like read these forum boards, and she was like online all the time reading about it, investigating it. And so she got in touch with Paul Holes, who was the investigator on the Golden State Killer. He had like been following this case for something like 35 years. And then actually, when you read it, if you've listened to my vlog for a long time, you know this already, even if you haven't read the book. The day before he retires, he is standing outside. So he's retiring from his career as a police and homicide detective, and he's sitting in his car outside the guy that they actually catch to be the Golden State Killer, because they had him like on their radar. And he's sitting there and he's watching his house, and he's so bad, like he just wanted to solve this case before he retired. And if you haven't seen Paul Holes, you should look him up, by the way, because Paul Holes has become like this kind of like quote unquote like sex symbol now. He's like 60. He's like super good looking guy. And I mean, really good looking. And it's funny because I was listening to like My Favorite Murder podcast about it. I love My Favorite Murder. And they interviewed him, and like he's been on a couple episodes, I think, of that. And they were asking what his wife said. And he was like, she runs all my social media. And he said something about like when he gets messages from women or whatever, but it's really funny. He was really humble about the whole thing. But he's very much like black leather jacket and like t-shirt and jeans, you know? And so he looks like what you'd imagine to be like a homicide detective in like, you know, a movie or a novel. I mean, he really does. So anyway, what was I saying about that? So he's sitting outside his car. Like, this is how the book starts. He's sitting outside his car. I think this is how it starts. Maybe this is how Evil Has Its Name starts. But he talked about this on the podcast, because I already knew this. He's sitting outside his car, and he wants to go up to the front door. It's his last night before he goes in and turns his badge in and stuff. The next morning, and he's like, I just wanted to go up, and I wanted to just get a DNA sample from him somehow. And it was like he was gonna ask the Golden State Killer, like, you know, hey, can we just rule you out and get a DNA sample or whatever? Well, they found out, and so he didn't do it because he was a good police investigator, and he knew that this could go really, really wrong. And so he drives off, and all he wanted to do was solve the case, right? Well, they found out when they arrested him. So he retires, and the next day they arrest the Golden State Killer. So literally he missed it by like a day. But, and they didn't even really reference him. That was kind of part of it that was sad. And they talk about that in the podcast, and they also talk about that in the book. Like, he didn't really get like any recognition at the time of the arrest. They didn't like bring him in to like put him on like the news or anything, but he's getting like all kinds of recognition for it now. But he was like the one that did like all the work. Like, it's so interesting when you listen to like Evil Has a Name, because it goes back and it talks about like when he was like in school, like early way back in the day, like he would sleep in the library because he was going in this training, and he opened these files. Well, this is when the Golden State Killer was referred to as, I can't remember what they called him, but anyway, East area, anyway, and so he saw all these files that were tagged that, and he pulled them out and he started reading them, and so he got interested in the case, and he, the East Area Rapist, and he wanted to, like, follow this case, right? And that's, so he was, like, the guy that was in charge of this case and following it all along and stuff, and so, like, it would never, like, they never would have caught him if it wasn't for him, and he gets no recognition, like, when it all goes down, but he doesn't care. You can tell he doesn't really care. But he just wanted to solve the case before he retired, you know? And so they found out when they arrested the guy that he literally had like an arsenal of weapons in his house. And Paul Holes is like, you know, like, this is why you have to follow police, like, procedure. He was like, because one of two things could have happened. A, he could have killed me, or one of three things could have happened. A, he could have killed me and nobody would have ever known who he was. B, he could have killed himself and we would never have had any answers. Or C, he could have taken me hostage and we would have had a hostage situation. And so the fact that he didn't do that meant that they were able to catch him. So, like, even though he wasn't the investigator that caught him, the fact that he didn't follow through with what he wanted to do in his heart, which is so funny because when we watch like these police shows and stuff, don't they always go with their heart and their gut? Like, they never go with like police procedure, you know? So the fact that he followed like proper police procedure is the reason why they were able to catch him, which I think is just, I mean, it says something for, you know, like doing what you're supposed to do and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, he's a really neat guy. And then he did an Audible exclusive, I would love to just meet him and interview him and ask him a bunch of questions. But then he did, oh, maybe I will reach out to him to do an interview on my main channel. That would be cool. He did an Audible exclusive, like, that's gonna happen. Well, I've dreamed bigger and things have happened, so you know, you gotta always dream big because you never know what's gonna happen. But anyway, he did an Audible exclusive book called Evil Has a Name. And if you're on Audible or you're thinking about starting it, or you like true crime and you're thinking, you get one book for free for a trial month for 30 days. And it is so good, you guys. It is like, I recommend it to people all the time. It really sounds like a documentary podcast. Like, they have all the victims, well, not all of them, but they have like a lot of the victims that survived. They have victims that did not survive, their family members talking about what happened then and where they're at now. And how they, like, at the end, like when he gets caught, it's all the victims that are speaking about it. So it's about the police investigation. And he talks about, like, there was this, I cannot think of what her name is. I want to say her last name was Carrie or Corey or something, but I know I'm wrong. But anyway, there was this police investigator that was a woman. Well, without even knowing it, she basically redefined how police investigators work with women that are rape victims. Okay, it was at the end. She was like the first one that would show up to these, you know, these police crime scenes. And so it wasn't that she was a woman that was called in to meet with these female victims. It really had nothing to do with that whatsoever. It had to do with the fact that she was just happened to be one of the first people that was on the scene. So when they had a victim that they needed somebody to meet with, they called her. The fact that she was a woman just made it all the better, right? Well, she kind of redefined the way that we look at these women victims and having women meet with them, you know, and it just was a really delicately handled, very cool, interesting part of the book to hear her talk about how through the years that, like, you know, she knew these women and she knew their families. I think I said that already. She knew their families and she knew their kids and stuff like that, and she had kept up with them. And what was so crazy was that all of these women, like, they would talk about her then, right? Like, they remembered her. Like, they remembered her, like, the kind way that she was, and that, you know, she would take them to the hospital and she was the one that had to have, you know, like, them examined at the hospital. and like the delicate way in which, you know, she would talk to them and she helped them through that process. And she wasn't like, she didn't sugarcoat it, you know, and she was like, this is what we have to do. And, you know, she was very direct with them, and they appreciated that, and they could hear it from her. And she basically redefined how we work with victims. And, you know, that is so cool that that happened as a result of this, when it wasn't the way that it was meant to be to begin with, right? So you get to hear her in there, and there's just so many, it's just done so well. And at the very end, like I said, you know, when they catch him, all the victims respond to how they feel about it. And so you hear them like talk like one after another on there. And for so many of them, it's like this feeling of redemption, you know? So anyway. But that was, so last year, we started the book club in April of last year. Mel just messaged me, well, it would have been a month ago or something. We like got off the live stream from the April book. Yeah, we got off the live stream in the April book, and she texted me like an hour later, and she goes, did you know that like today is our like 1 year anniversary? And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah. And so, I don't know if it was the first book. I don't think it was the first book. I think it was the second book that we read was I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. The first year that I did the book club, we just kind of randomly picked books. And I picked a lot of books. It was supposed to be like pop culture, like cult classics, like Valley of the Dolls, although we never got to that. So we read like V.C. Andrews' books the first year, or the first year, and we read just a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it just was a horrible way to do a book club, and I didn't know that going into it. So many of the books were really hard for people to find. So then Mel and I decided that we wanted to have a theme, like going forward, like what should our theme be? And Mel suggested that, she was like, well, we really liked I'll Be Gone in the Dark. How do you feel about a year of true crime? I think it was her idea, I don't remember. And I was like, oh my God, that's fantastic. That's what we need to do. So we decided that we were gonna do a year of true crime. And I have not regretted it once. Well, maybe the month that we read Truman Capote's In Cold Blood, but I think that that was needed, because if you're going to read the canon, what we wanted was, at the end of the year, we wanted people that participated fully in the book club to be able to, like, say, like, I know a lot about true crime. Like, you know, I mean, this is stupid, but if you're at a dinner party and people are talking about true crime, that anybody that had been part of the book club after a year would be like, yeah, I feel like I can speak a lot about true crime. Like, I've read all the standards, you know? I've read In Cold Blood, I've read The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule about Ted Bundy, you know? I've read about all the serial killers, I've read about this, I've read about that, and that's really what we wanted, you know? I mean, there's been a couple regrets so far, like, I did not love the BTK killer, or whatever that book was called by Carrie Rawson, his daughter. It was not my favorite book that I read, because it was basically a memoir of her life. It had really nothing to do with him. But it was an interesting, I mean, the thing was, I would have enjoyed the book, kind of. It was very, to me, very Bible thumpy. But I didn't mind it in the context of the book, because it was basically her talking about how her spiritual beliefs helped her get through what she had gone through, which I can't even imagine going through, finding out that your father is a serial killer. But I just didn't love it. It was very amateurish, the way that it was written to me. I mean, as a book, evaluating it as a book. And that's hard sometimes when you're writing, or when you're reviewing books that are written by people about their stories. It's like, well, how do you critique their story? You know what I mean? Like, you can't, because it's their story. But at the same time, it's like, you're giving the book, you know, a review, a fair review. But I did not love that one. Columbine, that was Mel's suggestion, because April was the 20th anniversary of Columbine. I learned so much about Columbine that I was not aware of. I learned so much about how we handle that whole situation within schools today, and policies that were put into place as a result of it. That book was phenomenal, by David Cullen. I know a lot of people have issues with that book, but I thought it was very intriguing. I want to read Parkland by him. I heard that was really well done as well. it's kind of hard to say, like, when you're reading a true crime book, like, that was a good book, even though I say it, because it's like, that was a good book, but it was really a tragic situation, you know? It's like, how do you say that? I don't know. I wish another book like I'll Be Gone in the Dark would come out, like another true crime telling, because that's modern, because so many of these are just like, they are, I mean, there really isn't anything recent, you know? Like, so many people in the book club want to read about the Green River Killer, and I don't know that we're going to have time to fit the Green River Killer into our schedule this year. So we were thinking about maybe ending the year on that. We have a couple different books that we might end the year on, but there's a book that has gotten a lot of acclaim the last couple years, and so we'd like to read something more modern to end the year on. And then we have a couple ideas for what we're going to go into 2020. Like I said, we're not going to read classics. Everybody in the live stream was like, no classics, no classics, no classics. So it's fun. Like, so forever, even since when I was a kid, I've wanted to be in a book club. I just love the idea of it. And I've had so many friends of mine that were in book clubs, mostly, well, almost all women, I think. And I'd be like, oh, what are you doing on Wednesday night? And they're like, I have book club. You should come sometime. You'd really enjoy it. And I'm like, okay, but my social anxiety is horrible. I don't really think people have any idea, like, when I talk about social anxiety, like, how bad it is, you know? Because you don't really see it. Like, I mean, like, at home, sitting in front of camera with my dogs, like, it's not conscious to me that there are thousands of people watching my videos. It just isn't, you know? And when I'm in my car driving around just talking to a camera, it's like, it's not conscious to me, you know what I mean? So it's like, I wish this light would change. I'm getting kind of really creeped just sitting here after talking about all of that. But my social anxiety is really, really bad. I was so happy that it changed. I was like looking over there at that woods and I was getting so creeped out. See, look, this is what happens to me. So anyway, so for me to walk into like a Barnes & Noble or a library or wherever and go to like a coffee shop and do like a book club has always been absolutely terrifying to me. Like, I just like, I don't think that I can do that. So I was like, well, why don't I just start my own book club online? And I really didn't think much of it when I started it. Like, I really didn't think that it would turn into what it's turned into. I mean, we have almost 2,000 people in this book club. Now, mind you, I mean, not that people sign up for it and they don't read. I mean, tons of them. I would say the majority. There's very few people for every book. I would say there's, like, for every book, there's 50 to 100 people that read it. And in every live stream, I'd say there's 30 to 50 people that attend. But still, if you think about that, like, if this was an actual physical book club, 50 to 100 people participating and 30 to 50 people showing up, like, that's a lot of people in a book club. You know what I mean? So I think it's so cool. Well, what happened was that the thread started taking on a life of its own. And, like, I literally had one thread where I just basically, I mean, I'm not, like, super smart when it comes to the Goodreads and stuff like that. I love the app Goodreads. I mean, if you're on it, friend me and I'll accept it. I accept literally everybody as friend. But I love Goodreads, but I just, like, when I started it, it literally had, like, one thread, and it was, like, whatever book we were reading or that I was going to start it. I can't remember. It was, like, rules of the book club, I think, or something like that, which I haven't looked back at, and I need to. So it kind of took on a life of its own because people started adding their own threads, and people started saying this, and people started saying that. And I'm, like, trying to keep up with going to the thread every day, post 5 videos, and vlog, and read the books, and have all of my personal stuff outside of that that's going on. And I was having a hard time keeping up with this thread. Well, Mel reached out to me, and she was really active in the thread, and she was really active on my booktube, and she was in the book club, and she said, hey, I'd be more than willing to run the Goodreads thread if you need help with it, and you could just make me an administrator, and then I'll just run it, and I'll do everything that needs to be done with it. And, you know, I was like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't really know her and whatever. And so, but it just became too overwhelming to me. And I was like, Peter, you need to trust somebody. Like, you just need to let go and trust somebody, that there are people out there that are good, that there are people out there that have your best interests in mind. And it was actually a really valuable lesson to me. I mean, it really, really was. Because not only has Mel just like taken this, she is on the Goodreads thread literally all day long, okay? And she has taken it and run with it. Basically, she and I picked the books together. I mean, it really is her book club at this point. I mean, it really is. And I run the live streams, but she co-hosts them with me, but I basically run them. We pick the books together, and then I do videos about them. So really what I do is the videos, I do the reviews on my channel, and I do like the announcements of them and talking about the book club and kind of like, you know, getting people to come over there, like the marketing of the book club, so to speak. And then we do the live streams together, and she runs the Goodreads thread. So I do like the video end of it, and she does the Goodreads thread. And I mean to tell you, she has become one of the dearest friends that I have ever had in my entire life. I love talking to her. She's like the friend I didn't know that I needed. She reminds me so much of friends of mine back in high school. And to have her in my life today, we literally, to have somebody, I mean to tell you, like, Tanya and I talk a lot about books, but Tanya and I don't read the same books. So we'll be like driving around and she'll be like, let me tell you about this book that I just read. And she'll tell me, but I have like no interest because she and I don't read the same things. Since Mel and I read so many of the same books, like even like last year, one of the books that we read was White Trash Zombie by Diana Rowland. Like we still talk about that series because she's read a couple more books than me. Like I think I'm on the third one and she's on like the fourth or the fifth. But anyway, to have a friend that I can actually talk about books to is so nice. And the whole lesson that I learned about just trusting the process and trusting somebody, that not everybody out there is, you know, it just was good for me to learn that there are really, really good, kind, caring people out there, because I think sometimes, you know, when you've gotten burnt enough, I think there are people out, I think there's a lot of you out there that will relate to this. It's like, when you've gotten burnt so many times, at some point you're just like, I'm not letting anybody else in. And I was so afraid of becoming jaded like that, you know, and she proved to me that there are really good, kind people out there. And, you know, and we always want to knock social media, and we always want to say, you know, and I say it too. I've said it just in vlogs this week. I've talked about the toxicity of social media, right? But the thing is there's a lot of good that comes from social media too. And my friendship with Mel is absolutely one of the #1 things, not to mention the lesson of learning to trust others and just letting go sometimes is so important for me. I mean, that was a recovery thing that I learned, you know, 24 years ago, is just to let go. Or like you don't have to be a religious person. This isn't a religious saying, but let go and letting God, you know, and just trusting the journey. And she's taught me that. And so, but today, oh my God, that Goodreads thread, it is crazy over there. They've got threads about all kinds. It's taken on a life of its own. And she messaged me about a week ago, and she's like, oh my God, we're at 1,900 followers. She gets so excited about it, which I love. And I was like, oh my God, really? So it's fun, you know. I've come a long way with the social anxiety. If you go back and you watch, like my first year of vlogs, like I have to say, really honestly, that one of the greatest gifts I've ever received from YouTube is getting through much of my social anxiety. It really was debilitating before I started YouTube. I mean, it really, really was. Like, one of the things I used to talk about on here a lot is that my husband would go do all kinds of things and I wouldn't go. Whether they were like, you know, bridal showers or baby showers or birthday parties and whatever. My social, and he's one person that really, really gets it today, and is very, very supportive of me with it. Like, if I don't want to do something, he just doesn't force it, you know? But today, one of the things I've really forced myself to do is go to almost everything. I'm not talking about, like, music festivals. Like, today in our lives, like, if there's something that I want to do that he doesn't want to do, he doesn't go do it. And I'm not talking about, I'm talking about things that we're like recreationally interested in. But as far as like things that we should be doing as a couple together, like family things or going to somebody's birthday party and stuff, I go to that stuff today. You know, Halloween parties, I go. Back in the day, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. It was debilitating. I would be like, I so wanted to go. This is the thing that people don't get. Like, whenever people say that social anxiety is bullshit, I'm like, yeah, social anxiety is bullshit until you have it, okay? I mean, like, that's just the reality. Until you have it, when you have it, you have no idea. It is literally one of the worst forms of fear I've ever had in my, if not the worst form of fear I've ever had in my entire life. And it's not just thinking about what people are going to think of you or what people are going to say. It like goes so much deeper than that. It's really truly is a fear. And, you know, like even going to Caroline's on Sunday for the open house, it was so good for me. Because I told Caroline, I said, you know, like, I have to get to things early and be there. Like, if I'm somewhere, like, if I'm standing in your kitchen and you're having a party, and let's say 50 to 100 people are going to show up, but I get there 20 minutes early and everybody shows up after me, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not great. I don't love it, but I'm okay with it. But I don't do well walking in halfway through the party with 50. I like, that is so nervous to me. It's like literally like all eyes on you. Like, everybody's looking at you. I don't like it. And I don't like it is an understatement. It really makes me nervous. And, but, you know, on Sunday, like, I parked and I walked in behind these friends of David's, you know, and I just forced myself to do it. And then when I go in now, I force myself to go talk to people. And I try to, in my head, imagine who I'd like to be, you know, as far as being social in those situations. And then I just do that. Like, that's what I have forced myself to do, is work through the fear. And it's worked. Like, it really has. It's still scary to me, but I also don't want to miss out on life. You know, I don't want my fear to keep me stuck. Like, like, that's one of my big things, is that, why is this car stopped at a green light? That's creepy. They're still there. I don't want my life, I don't want to miss out. They are still back there at that green light. That is so weird. Their front lights are off too. I'm not willing to miss out on life anymore because of social anxiety. And, you know, and mine is really bad. Like, I don't think people really have any idea. Like, I've really had to work through it. It was like so much of what we worked on in counseling. Like, we worked so hard, I worked so hard on it in counseling, and, you know, just sitting there and talking to him, and him giving me, like, tools to do, you know, and I have little mantras and things I say to myself. And one of the things that has really helped me is being honest with the people around me. Okay, so for example, like, if I'm gonna go over to, like, to Caroline's, I told her, okay, like, this is a perfect example. Like, I told her, I said, well, you know, I have really bad social anxiety. And she was like, I know, sweetheart. She was like, if you don't want to come. And I said, no, I do want to come. And see, that's where people go, is they always say if you don't want to come, because they're being really considerate. But the reality is that I'm the one that's missing out. Plus, they don't really care if I don't. It's not about them not caring. It's about they really just don't really know how else to deal with it. And so they're very considerate and compassionate about it, right? And I said, no, I want to come. I said, but sometimes it's just easier for me if I show up earlier. And she said, you can get here an hour or two earlier. If you want to help me set some stuff up, that's fine. You know, you can do whatever you want to do. She's like, you can get here 2 hours early before even one person shows up. And I said, okay, I'll probably do that. Well, the day I woke up and I wanted to film some videos and I had other stuff going on, and I thought, you know what, I think I'm actually going to show up. Like, I don't want to be there the whole time. I don't want to be there for 3 hours. I think I'm going to show up like an hour in, and then I'll be there 2 hours. I'll stay, you know, and then that will be perfect. That'll be fine. And I was nervous about showing up halfway through, but I had told Caroline, I was like, you know, this is what I think I'm going to do. And I had told some other people, and, you know, and so for me, it's like being honest with the people that I'm with. You know what I mean? What's really weird about it is that if it's like a party that I'm going to at one of my friends' houses, where there's going to be people there that I don't know, like, that is really, really hard for me. Or, like, if you called me up and you said, okay, so do you and Alex want to go out to dinner with me and my husband, and then there's gonna be 2 other couples coming with us, and I didn't know those 2 other couples, that would be really, really hard for me, okay? But, or like, oh my God, going to Alex's mom's, or now his brother's house, and they're having a party, and I have to walk in, and let me just tell you, and I don't know if this is just a family thing or a cultural thing or whatever, but when you go in, you literally have to hug and shake everybody's hand, like, it's expected. And so it's everybody that I've never met in my entire life, right? Because they always have these parties, and so it's always new people, and I don't know who half these people are, because, you know, 6 of them are visiting, and, you know, then somebody's brother and somebody's aunt, you know, whatever. So I don't know half these people. So, that is so, like, I really have to work myself up to that. That is so much easier for me than, like, if I'm going to a convention. or if I'm gonna go and like to someplace really, really crowded. Like I don't really struggle with that a whole lot, which is so strange to me. Like it's like back in the day, you know, like I could get on a stage and speak to 1,000 people. Honest to God, I could. I've done a lot of public speaking. Part of my old job had a lot of public speaking involved in it. And we would go to a lot of conventions and stuff like that. And I could go and speak to 1,000+ people, no problem whatsoever, right? But put me in a room with 10 people and I was almost panicked. Like, it was weird, you know? But it's something that I've worked through bits and pieces of. I think it'll be something, I think, you know, in talking to my counselor about it, what he really believed it was that it was rooted in post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of being bullied. And the thing with being bullied that people don't really talk about is that you never know when the next verbal, emotional, or physical assault is gonna happen. You don't. So the thing is, you're constantly like this. You're looking over your shoulder. Like, it feels like this, right? Well, can you imagine if during 8 hours of every day, 8 hours a day, okay, that you're in school, right? 8 hours for 12 years, you're like this. I mean, maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration because it's not all day, but like literally walking down the hallways, driving to school parking, coming in, lunch was pure hell. You know, just some classes were worse than others. And so you do that for so long that you're like on edge, right? So social situations make you super anxious and nervous. And so he was like, you know, I really believe that you suffer PTSD as a result of being bullied. And he was like, we don't talk a lot about that. And he was like, I don't think it's severe, but I do think it's what leads to your social anxiety. So he gave me a lot of tools and skills to work through that, you know, and I have those today, thankfully. But it's been a long road. It's been hard. All right, I'm almost at the end of this one. I'm at 23 minutes and 12 seconds, so, or 11, 12 seconds. So anyway, it's 16, 17. I hope you guys are having an amazing Tuesday, unless you have other plans, but don't. Enjoy the day. You're exchanging a day of your life for today. So whatever you're doing, make sure that you live it to the fullest. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. I say that every day because it's important. We all deserve to hear this, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Love you.